Welcome to Tenacity with Sonia C, the podcast where we dive into stories behind success, uncovering the lessons learned and the insights gained by leaders and innovators in the business world. I'm your host, Sonia, and today's guest joining us is Noelia Orantes. Noelia's life is a reflection of the power of perseverance and the importance of embracing one's authentic self. Noelia's journey from migrating to Canada at a young age without knowing English to facing and overcoming numerous challenges and finally making a significant leap into the tech industry took taking risks and facing her fears. Not only has she established herself as a product specialist at Menusano, but she has created a podcast platform called Power of Story, dedicated to sharing the authentic stories of individuals from all walks of life. Today, we dive into Noelia's story, exploring the nuances of navigating a new culture, breaking into the tech industry as a woman, the dynamics of growing up in a big family, and the importance of storytelling and fostering genuine connections. Join us as we uncover the lessons and insights from Noelia's journey of tenacity and transformation. Hi, Noelia. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate that.
Of course, yes. I'm excited to dig right in and have this wonderful conversation about lots of different things. So let's
Mhm.
dig in and start with my first question for you. So you migrated to Canada at a young age, navigating a new culture, not knowing any English must have been really challenging. Can you share some obstacles you faced during your initial years in Canada and how you overcame them?
Well, first one, a different language. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I learned, how do you do back in Portugal and water. And that's the extent of it. So coming here, it's a new language. The weather was completely different. I mean, we came in November, towards the end of November was getting cold, and then the snow comes in and the freezing rain, and you're like, "What? This isn't like the movies. This isn't like what I saw. I saw people outside with no coats." Yeah, that's not true. So quickly, that was a hit on, and making friendships. You're a kid. I was 12. I had my friends back home. I had my little group of, these are my people. And you come here and you're just like, wow, you're like a fish
Out of water.
in out of water in a huge ocean, and you can't swim. I can't swim. So it's even worse. But it's
Yeah.
really scary. It's super scary. And you go from playing outdoors all the time. We were always outside, right? And then you're coming in to, I mean, we went to live in the basement, and again, wintertime, you're downstairs. You don't go anywhere. You're newcomers. So your parents are a little bit more scared about you walking and getting lost. So yeah, definitely some challenges, but then you got used to it. As a kid, you know, you go with the flow.
And I think as children, like kids are more resilient and they sort of adapt a little better. How did you, adapt? How was school?
I think we were definitely blessed in the sense that we came to Cambridge, Ontario, which back then was full of Portuguese people.
Okay.
So as we came to this school called St. Patrick's, I feel like right behind us, within the next 2, 3 months, we had some more newcomers from the same place that we grew up in, not the same city, but from the same island. So you kind of felt like, I'm not alone. They speak Portuguese. I mean, we get in trouble for speaking the language in class, but it just began to feel like I'm not alone, right? Like there's other people here. There's other kids with the same struggles and the same worries. So you kind of felt more, I'm feeling homey now. I'm feeling at home. Chips. Eventually you make friendships. Were all the friendships great? No. Kids could be cruel. Kids can be cruel. And you just learn to deal with it and go with the flow again. And this is where I'm supposed to be. You make the best out of it, right? My parents came here with a goal. They came here with a dream, and we're going to make this our home. This is our home.
Yeah. You grew up with a big family. There's five of you. You're one of five siblings, and you're the oldest. Growing up in a big family obviously has its dynamics, and I'm sure you've learned a lot of lessons over time. Can you share what that was like being? Did you ever feel responsible for everyone? you're all in different ages. What was that like for you?
Absolutely. The responsibility for my younger siblings, you're older, you're the oldest. I think it just comes with the position. This is my job, right? This is what I'm supposed to do. And that teaches you the importance of looking out for others and being there for them when they need support. As a result, you tend to prioritize, trust and loyalty and empathy, and you learn these things by caring about these younger kids, right? And I don't want to say I was put in that position, because at the end of the day, I'm just the older sister. I'm not their mom or anything like that. I'm just their older sister. But growing up, you put yourself like, I need to take care of them. And I think many times I put their needs before my own needs, not even knowing that at the time. Do you know what I mean? That you're
Yeah.
like, if I'm scared, but I need to be brave so that they're not scared. Or, if I'm feeling something that's uneasy, somehow I'm still going to come out and be like, no, everything's okay, let's go. And deep down, you're like, oh, this is not good. So it teaches you all of these things. And you know what? I am who I am today because I'm the oldest, because I learned so many things from my younger siblings. And as much as I taught them things, I also learned things from them, from each one of them. They
Mhm.
each have different personalities, different ways of approaching things. You learn that from each one of them.
So how did, being the oldest and caring for your siblings and building those relationships, and how did that affect your relationships now and how you build relationships with other people? Did that
Well,
have an impact?
absolutely. I think the value of compromise, communication, patience, dealing with so many personalities and different ways of seeing things. I've learned the importance of finding common ground and respecting different perspectives. Learn to disagree, learn to agree, learn that sometimes my opinion doesn't always have to be heard. Again, because I'm the oldest, you tend to be like, yeah, like I remember growing up on Saturdays, I would just take over that role of, hey, kids, like seriously, kids, siblings, let's get up and let's clean the house. I'll be like, you clean upstairs, you clean downstairs, you sweep the stairs. And this teaches you, but it's also teaching you to take leadership, right?
Mm.
And these are tools that I have learned in work, in relationships, but becoming a leader that's not just telling people what to do. I'm also doing it. So I wasn't just saying you do this and sitting down watching cartoons Saturday morning. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Well, no, no. You're doing it too. And I think that by doing these small tasks, uh, again, these are great tools for jobs that I've had. I've learned from them. I've carried those with me.
Yeah, for sure. So you're now working in tech. You're a woman in tech, which is completely different for you and new to you. What was your impression of working at a tech company now? How have you changed, or how has your mentality of tech changed as well? I know that's a lot of questions in one.
Honestly, initially I was excited, nervous, scared about working in a tech company. And I thought it would be intense, and I thought it would require a lot of the, how do I say this? A lot of the tech know to know, or how I thought of like coding. That's what I thought about tech. I'm being honest. I thought I'm like,
You're
I'm
gonna
gonna have
have to
to,
learn how to code.
I'm gonna learn how to code. I don't know what I'm doing here. Like it just, it felt like I'm too old. There's no way an old dog can learn new tricks. Like I was just set. But there was also a part of me that was like, you know what? You've done some challenging things in the past, and you can probably do this now. I believe that fear always takes in a new adventure. Like I
Mm,
used to think, I have brain fog. I forget things. Like, how in the world am I going to learn a new thing like tech?
mm,
This isn't just turning on a computer, turning it off, going on social media. This is a little bit more in depth, right? However, now that I'm here, I have found it to be, I have a supporting team. I have a great environment that I'm working with. It's fast paced, but I appreciate the opportunity. I'm learning, I'm growing. I work with a great team of people. So if I have any doubts or guys, I don't know what to do here, I can go to someone, because that's the also thing. It's not just about taking leadership like we were talking about before, but it's also knowing my limitations. I am great at this. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not so good at this. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know. Can you help me? And
Yeah.
if you're working in the right environment, you're going to get that for sure. You will, which again, I am working in that environment.
So I know you and I talked before we actually pressed record, and it's actually interesting that we were talking about you being the oldest siblings and telling people what to do. A little birdie told me that you are the mom of the office and that your team loves you and they look up to you, and you're not at the office every day, but when they will ask when you're coming in because they want to see you. What's that like for you to have, like, people saying that you're the mom of the office?
Again, it just comes naturally to me, I guess. I mean, not only at the office, if I'm walking in Tim Hortons with somebody, they will look at us and be like, hey, your sister or your daughter, you know what I mean? I'm like, I am the same age as this person walking in with me. So I'm going to take it as a compliment, okay? Being
you
the
think there's
mom.
you think there's more to it? Like, obviously
Yes.
they're saying you're the office mom for a reason. What do you think that is that you're bringing in that's making them feel? I mean, saying, like, I'm not asking the question to, like, be rude, but, like, if someone says she's like a mom, I think that's a compliment, right?
Absolutely.
What do
Yeah.
you,
Oh,
what do
yeah.
you
Yeah.
think? Like, what have you done for people to feel that way about you?
Just feel comfortable in being themselves. Like you know, I think I come in with authenticity too. Like I don't think I'm fake. I come in, this is who I am. And I think just building those relationships, those real raw relationships without pretending again, oh, if I'm talking to a developer, I'm not going to pretend I know what they're doing. I'm like, listen, my friends, speak English. What? And I think just being honest and being upfront and offering my help. Listen, I don't know this field too much, but I'm here to help, right?
Mhm.
And then just giving that, and they're like, hey, yeah, you know what, I actually do need help with this, can you help out? And just going the back and forth, and you build relationships like that, right? You're going back and forth, not just talking about technical stuff, not just talking about the work, the everyday work, but saying, hey, how was your day? Did you have a good day? What do you do after work? Like, do you have any hobbies? Do you have a girlfriend? And then you're building a relationship. And of course, I'm a little bit older and wiser. Let's just concentrate on the wise part here. A little bit wiser. And they're just like normal, which is, you know what? It is a great compliment. I love it. I love it. Definitely love it.
So you're working at a company called Menusano, and your role is you're the product specialist, and you're working directly with customers, managing support, influencing the product development, and assisting sales. Did you ever think you would be doing that in your life?
If you asked me 10 years ago, I'd be saying no, definitely not. I've worked many other fields. I think I've been great at working at other fields. Working in something like Menusano, I don't think so. I'm being honest. If, like I said, if you asked me 10 years ago, I would have said no. Initially, when I took on the role of product specialist at Menusano, I wasn't sure if I could handle it. I wasn't sure if I had all the requirements that involved. Customer support was something that I was confident about. I'm good with people. I'm good at problem solving. Again, the tech stuff had me a little worried, right?
Fair
But
enough.
however, approaching the opportunity with an open mind and a willingness to learning from my past experience and skills,
Yeah,
because we bring those with us, right?
yeah.
Such ability as like communicating effectively, and my passion for problem solving. I found that you know sometimes you ask yourself, do you ever really use math in your life? Yes, you do. I took two courses in high school. They were called problem solving math. And I'm telling you, in this field, I have definitely used it. You see something, you're like, hmm, if I have three apples and so takes one, how, right? Those problem solving skills will come in handy. So anybody out there that doesn't like the problem solving math at school, you will use it. And you know what? I also found my voice. I found my voice, and I found that just because it sounds a little different than
Mm,
a 25-year-old in tech, it doesn't mean that my voice does not sound like something that is important and that's something that has value.
mm.
So that's what I've also learned, right? Yes, I'm learning, and there's a period of learning which I just stayed quiet and I just absorbed and I just listened. And then there's a moment you're like,
I know what I'm talking about.
and then there comes a part that's like, I was right. So, and then the confidence builds up, right?
Yeah.
Your confidence builds. Again, your team trusts you, because that's important, right? It's not just speaking nonsense. We have to know what we're speaking about and speaking when we're supposed to speak, right? So I know this, I know all these things. So any weaknesses that I may have, my team, they have these strengths where I have weaknesses.
Mm,
So again, working together, it just it's worked. It has made going into this role fantastic. Just the support, and I have fun. I love my work. I love going to work. Sometimes you're like, oh no, it's a challenge every day. It's something new. Even if it's something that seems repetitive, you're dealing with a different client. You're dealing with a different feature. You're dealing with a different issue. So there's always something challenging and something new coming to work. And I love that. I love that because I can easily, oh, fine.
yeah. So when you were initially got into the role of product specialist, it was meant for support, training, helping customers, but now you're also influencing the actual product development where the requirements are being built with you. You're approving the requirements before the developer builds it. You're working directly with the development team. So now you've gone from one role and you're having an influence, like a huge influence on the other side of it, and that has nothing to do with what you originally started out doing. How did you evolve into that, and which one do you like more?
You know what? I like both. I'm naturally, I'm a bossy person, a nice bossy person.
Okay.
So when you have, you know what I mean? So when you become the specialist of a product, and that's the thing, you have to have knowledge about what you are working with. And I
Mm,
think, as working with menu sauna, you start to see, well, these features would be better. And then you also listening to the customers. If we had these features, and if we had this, and if we had that, and then again, bringing it up to a team who's willing to learn, who's willing to listen, right? Because I could have these great ideas, but then if somebody's like, nah, you've only been here for 6 months, you don't know what you're talking about.
yeah.
No, on the contrary, it's like, you know what? She's talking about. Let's consider it. Let's talk about it. Why don't you become part of the process, since you've mentioned it? Since you know what I mean? Let's try it out. Let's do quality control. Let's do staging. I never knew what those things were in the tech world, but you're learning each day, right? I'm learning each day, which is fantastic. Again, there's no room to be like, I'm bored. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's becoming repetitive. There's always something new. And I think that's the beauty about working in the tech world.
I love
But
that. I mean, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, I was going to say, working in the tech world, and like I was in the health business before, and it becomes repetitive because it's all about routines. Although you're working with different people all the time, the routine becomes part of that workload. Where here, you can change it up, right? Today I'm going to do videos to support people. Tomorrow I'm going to be supporting. You know what I mean? There's just that.
It's
Just
never a dull moment.
it's never a dull moment. Exactly. Exactly.
So for women who are listening to you and have, aspired to get into tech, but they're scared because, of course, they think they need to learn how to code, um, what would you say to them? And to inspire them to not be scared to get into tech and to maybe even pursue it?
Honestly, don't let fear of not fitting into a certain stereotype hold you back from pursuing your ambitions. Tech
Mm.
companies, they value diversity. This is what I've learned. They value diversity of thought, skill, backgrounds. And there are many, many, many roles within the tech industry that don't necessarily require the technical expertise, right? That's what I've learned. So your unique perspective, your experiences, your skills, they are valuable assets that can bring to any role, anything you're going to be doing on a tech company. Just come with a positive mindset, right? And many of these roles rely more on communication, problem solving, being creative, working together, and not so much on the coding or the technical know-how, right? At least that's what I have learned. That's what I learned. So don't be afraid, do it. You have what it takes. Try it. You have nothing to lose.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, tech is a very male dominated space, and companies are always trying to have more diversity, bringing in women. But, it's not just about bringing in women who can code. There's so many other roles that can be filled, and you can, learn and evolve. Obviously, you've been with Menusano a short period of time. You were hired to be, a specialist in something, but now you're contributing to how the product is developed, which features are being carried out, and you're 100% supporting sales and helping sell the product based on your
Mhm.
knowledge of what the product can do, what it can't do, and you're listening to the clients in sales and demos because you do the demos, and you're going back to management or the founders and saying, hey, like out of 3 calls, everybody's asking for this feature, like, have you guys thought about this? And so now you're influencing even the growth of the product, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. Absolutely. And it feels good. It feels good to be part of something that is growing, right?
Mm.
It feels great to be going into a company and knowing, you know what, this little mustard seed, this was mine, right? And again, you might think it's a tiny little thing, but it's not. It's yours. It's your tiny little thing, and it means something. It definitely means something.
That's fantastic. I love it. So let's change the subject. You are
Yes.
launching a new podcast called Power of Story, which I'm very excited. It's launching in April.
April.
So you're going to have lots of things come out. So it's a platform for authenticity and connection, which I can see why you would do that. What motivated you to start the podcast, and how do you hope it will impact listeners?
Well, the motivation, well, I had support. I have a great support, like I have a sister that just supported me and let's do it. You can do it. And she set me up with everything. And you need that. Sometimes you can have a great idea and still be in the place where you're like, should I, shouldn't I? But then you have that support, that little kick in the behind, and the motivation starts, right? So the motivation behind starting Power of Story podcast comes from a deep belief in the power of storytelling. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a film director. This is the closest thing to it. I'm kidding.
True. That's actually a really good point.
But there is a power in storytelling, and I'm not talking about Once Upon a Time, the Little Mermaid. I'm talking about hearing a story through. I remember my mom singing these old Portuguese folk stories,
Okay.
and we would just be very tentative to it because it was like, wow, so cool, right? Or even a good documentary. I love documentaries. Or even like a good story. You open, you open the book and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And so starting this was kind of like, I want to hear your story, right? I want to hear the story of someone's struggle. And it's not to be like, I want to hear someone's, no, I want to be inspired by your struggles. I want to be inspired by your accomplishments. And through that, something is going to change in someone. Something changed in you, and you'll be able to share that. Stories have a unique ability to bring out emotions,
Hmm.
to inspire, and to
Hmm.
foster connections between individuals. You're like, I'm not alone. Like,
Hmm.
okay, as a parent, sometimes you feel like little aliens are coming into your house. Who are these children? Right? So you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Right? And in today's fast-paced, filter world, it's I felt like we need that just to connect as human beings. Nothing else. Just let's be raw, let's be real, and let's talk about it.
Okay, so this is a question that I did not prepare you for, but so give me like a little glimpse of one of your stories.
Oh, you want me to do the podcast before the podcast? How dare you?
Just to give people an idea, right? Why not, start with
Yeah,
something of your own so
I
people can get an idea.
well, that's a very good question. Yeah, you just want a little bit of my podcast here,
I like
don't
putting it
you?
out there.
Well, you know what? There's just so much. I think there's so much about somebody that we don't know. And I'm not going to say I'm going to come here and be like, here I am, an open book. No, because that's not myself either. But I do believe that I do have some stories and my stories, okay, that can bring hope. Like I was a single parent. That might just bring hope to somebody. Fear. I struggle with fear all my childhood. I did. I really did. I struggled. I was afraid. I was afraid to the point that I feel like fear would paralyze me to do things, to go ahead, right? A lot of people think, oh, Noelia is just a strong woman. Wow, Noelia doesn't cry. I cry. I cry, right?
I
So
think
there
that
is,
to the power of story, what you're talking about, where it's like people think they know you, but then when you really talk about your story and your struggles, I know there's stories have good things and bad things, right? But like when you really get to know it, it's like, oh wait, maybe this person is deeper than what I think they are. They've been through
yeah,
some crap, right? Is
yeah.
that what you're sort of getting to?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we learn something from everybody if we are willing to listen,
Mm,
because we can also be speaking from a great place.
hmm.
Or someone could be talking to me from a great place. And if I'm not really listening, it's not going to do anything. But
Yeah,
if I go into, a conversation with someone and be like, you know what, they're oh, first of all, telling your story is hard. So it, it takes courage to do so. And if you go into saying, you know what, I'm going to listen to them and I'm going to learn something from them, you will. Just having that positive attitude and knowing that something good's going to come out of it, something good will come out of it. For sure, for sure, for sure.
so you've emphasized on the importance of being raw, authentic, and in sharing stories. How do you navigate the balance between vulnerability and privacy on your podcasts in your sharing?
Well, I believe in the power of consent, right?
Okay.
We that needs to be something that is a discussion behind the scenes, behind the podcast coming out. When inviting guests into my podcast, I will prioritize open communication and ensure that they feel comfortable sharing their stories. It's important to establish boundaries and respect everyone's level of comfort. Like I just said, there's some things that I'm going to be willing to share and some that I'm not, because some of them might talk about other people in my life, right? So, you know, like I said, the same thing goes for me when I'm sharing my own stories. I have to be mindful of what I feel comfortable revealing and what aspects of my life I prefer to keep private. And
Mhm.
that's the same thing with whoever I invite to the podcast or whoever else wants to come. While I value the rawness and I want people to be open, I also recognize the importance of setting those boundaries to protect my own well-being and the privacy of those around me.
Okay. So tell us, what can we expect for your first episode?
Honestly, I've been thinking about this, right? Because I'm like, okay, this is about power of story. What do I do? What don't I do? Should I start off with me and me? And there is an aspect of myself that it is very important in my life, and that's my faith. And
Hmm.
I don't think I would be who I am today if I did not believe in God. And that's something that I'm not going to hide in my podcasts. This is
Yeah.
something that I'm going to be real about. And I'm not going to be pushing it down anybody's throat, but I will speak my truth when it comes to that. And you know what? The first one is about fighting battles and how God's faith in God has helped me through these battles. The unseen, armies that are surrounding us, the ones that you think are not there, but they are. And just knowing I'm not alone in this deep ocean, I'm not alone with this problem coming towards me, and just being able to step back and be like, I'm not alone. I have somebody with me, to me, for me in my life. That has been a pillar, that has been a rock. So as much as I was thinking about, I'm going to do something funny, there's that part of me that's like, you know what? Start with that.
Yeah.
How do you fight your battles? Because battling is something we do every single day. Don't
Yeah.
underestimate the battles. What's big for you might be small for me, and what's big for me might be small for you, but it's still a battle that each one of us is battling. And I'm not going to just tell you, God's going to carry me through. I'm going to give you some tools that I've had to learn, right? Be quiet. Don't speak. Just listen. Be patient. Just wait. Okay, now you grab your sword, not a real sword, but there's
Yeah.
moments for everything. And I've had to learn that through battles, good ones and bad ones. Some I've won, some I've lost
Yeah.
horribly. Some I've been wounded.
Yeah.
I've been
That
like, help me. It takes time to recover from some of these battles,
mm,
right? It takes time to recover. And what do you do to recover from the battles we don't win, from the battles that you feel like, I didn't feel like anybody was behind me on this. So that's what's coming. That's what's coming.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
That's great.
So let's just reflect a little bit, reflecting on your journey, migrating to Canada, breaking into the tech industry later in life. What advice would you give to young women who aspire to follow a similar path? What I mean too is like part of that is also your story. You just said you were a single mom. It sounds to me like you've had, a lot of hardships going through your story. So, what do you say to young women that aspire to maybe are coming from similar places like you?
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, I definitely understand firsthand the challenges and the uncertainties that come with pursuing a non-traditional path. So, single parents, single moms, people, and this is real, unfortunately, people will look at you and be like, you know what? They're probably struggling. Not that I didn't struggle, because Lord, did I ever struggle.
Mm,
But again, you overcome it. You will overcome it. So, to all the young women who aspire to follow a similar journey, you know what? Be yourself. Have
yeah.
the confidence in your ability and believe that you have what it takes to succeed. Don't listen to the voices around you. You can't, or you're too old, or you only have your high school. You need college, or you're going to need university, or you need a degree in order to be this person.
Mhm.
Believe in yourself. Have the confidence. Build a support network. Build a support team that's going to help you succeed, right?
Yeah.
But remember, this is very important, that building a supportive network, it's not always going to be,
Yeah.
you're doing so good. Be ready to also have constructive, right? You're going to have that criticism, constructive criticism, right? Because we need to have, how do I say this? We need to have the openness to be like, hey, give me the good, but also give me where I need to improve. Be
Yeah.
open to that, right? But surround yourself with hope. It's either at work or family or friends who you will have that support with. Don't fear failure. You're going to fail. It's okay to fail. It's okay to try. Listen, I've always said it is better to try than to not try at all. It is better to be like, you know what? I suck at this. And trust me, I've, I think my very first job was at a little place in Cambridge Mall when I was about 17, and it was like cashier. a photo booth.
Okay.
Lord, did I ever suck. I sucked so bad. You know what? I was so bad at this. I don't want to say I got fired because I didn't, but I was very gently let go. This coming from somebody. Listen, I have done many things. I've worked with saws, with machinery. This little thing I could not do. And I was like, you know what? I'm not good at this. I'm not. I've tried, but I'm not good at it. Don't
Mm,
be afraid of failure. Failure is a natural part of the learning process.
yeah.
Don't let these little setbacks discourage you. Instead, view them as opportunities for growth and resilience. Do it. Embrace challenges and learn from your experience. Advocate for yourself. Don't be afraid to speak up. You know what I mean? In a job, you know what? If 20 years ago, I'm like I was today, 20 years ago, I would have spoken up about, hey, why is so and so getting paid this much and I'm not? Believe
Yeah.
in yourself, believe in your worth, right? Your voice matters and use it to advocate for your own success. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Stay persistent.
Yeah.
Breaking into the tech industry was not easy, but you stay persistent, you do what it requires, you persevere, right? Stay focused on your goals and don't let rejection, again, don't let rejection set you back.
Yeah.
The internet is great for tools. Take some online courses, whatever it is. It could be tech, it could be whatever job, whatever it is that you want to do. We have wonderful tools in this wonderful world of us for free. Some of them you have to pay. Get a mentor, get somebody to mentor you, get somebody to help you out. And you know what? Honestly, pay it forward. You
Yeah.
know, like I said, I'm not here just because of everything that I've done. No, I've needed help. I've needed support. I've needed a little, like I said, a little push in my behind. And and also someone took the time to teach me. Someone has taken the time to be like, hey, listen, this is how we do it. This is how we're going to do it. Pay it forward.
Yeah.
If you have a mentor in your life, become a mentor for somebody else,
I love
right?
that.
and and guide them, and it's not just about you growing up and you having this big fat head and I'm no, you know what, let's all just be the same, let's all work for something. And I think honestly at the end of the day you're going to feel so much better.
Yeah. I mean, that's very inspiring. Just, I find lately that I'm just having conversations with people and I'm finding that some people have hit rock bottom, right? So some people have overcome that. What do you say to someone that maybe right now in their life has really hit rock bottom and they're stuck, they're confused, and they just don't know how to get out of that place?
Well, hitting rock bottom is good in a way,
Okay.
as scary as it is. Hitting rock bottom means that you can only go up from there. That's it. So, right. And sometimes you think I'm at the bottom and there's no way for me to get up, right? And again, this is where my faith would come in. I'd be like,
Mm,
no, I'm not. No, 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 no. You got to get up. You got to get up. And you know, and then you think about, Joseph. And this is where again the stories would come in. It's like
mm.
Joseph was in a pit. He was by himself. His brothers had just left him in there. He had no hope,
They sold
nothing.
him.
They sold him. They disliked him because of envy. But you know what? There was a plan.
Hmm.
There is a plan. And maybe the plan, he wasn't thinking, oh, yeah, I'm going to be sold to slavery. This man found favor in everything that he did in Egypt. It wasn't just through the Pharaoh's helper. It wasn't just in jail. When he was in jail, he found favor of those guards. So no matter where you are today, there's a plan. You just have to look at it and say, I'm going to get out of here. I'm not alone. There's a force within me that's going to overcome it, and I'm going to get out of it. And it's not always going to look the way that you have planned.
Mm.
None of my things ever came out the way I planned them to. None. Zero. Zero. But you know what? They always came out how they should have been and how they're supposed to be. So if you're at the bottom, don't worry, you can only come up. But it takes up to you. Because sometimes we also want somebody to just come down and give us that wonderful hand and just take us out. And again, in Joseph's case, the hand that came down wasn't to help him. It was to take him to slavery. There was a hand that came down,
Yeah.
right? So it's not always the hand that we are hoping for, but it's coming. So little by little, there's a plan, there's a purpose. And you know what? You are enough. We are enough.
Mm.
Never doubt that. Never doubt that.
Mm. Well, this has been a great episode. We've gone way over time.
That's
uh,
good.
and I love it. But before we wrap up, I just want to go into one last thing. My mission with the Tenacity podcast is always to share experience so that our listeners can learn from those who have been there and done it. In my career in tech, a lot of it was really lonely. I felt alone a lot. And I think, well, I don't think, I know as I started getting into leadership positions, it got even lonelier and lonelier because I just didn't have anyone who understood where I was coming from, what I was dealing with every day. So, can you share a moment? So, Tenacity podcast, I like to talk about, not just great things that are happening in our lives and in business and what people are doing, but I always want to share, some of the we might call them lessons learned. I call them failures. So, can you share a moment or an experience where your tenacity was truly tested? And how did you find the strength to persevere and turn that situation into a success or a lesson learned?
Or a lesson learned. Well, you know what? We are talking about tech. So I will come back to the tech world and I will come back to this. And again, we've talked about it. There's the fear, there's the I'm not good enough, I'm not enough for this.
Mhm,
I think from where I have started and from where you have started, it's two different worlds right now. Where I
mhm,
think as a woman now we have more respect in the field and people listen to us a little bit more. Where you guys back in 10 years ago had to build this for people like me to have this freedom today, and I know that in 10 years is going to be way better, right? But starting today, again, there are obstacles that you face, and it's not just the obstacles within the environment of tech or the environment of the idea of what tech is. I think a lot of it is also in your mind,
mm,
right? For myself, it was like it was me. It was me. Like no one was telling me I wasn't good enough or I couldn't do this. It was me saying you have brain fog and sometimes you forget and you don't have this schooling and you don't have this and you can't do this and it's too far. How are you going to get that? And
mm,
how can you work from home? There's no way to do this and you're not going to be able to. It's right here, right?
yeah,
So the tenacity was overcoming here because everything else we are, again, like I said, I was placed in a place where I was welcomed with open arms,
mm,
right? I don't
mm,
I haven't felt like you just said where I have to fight for my leadership and I have to be like, listen to me, I know what I'm talking about, right? Because I think the pioneers like you who have started this years ago has opened that conversation and has opened that up a little bit more. So I'm going to say for me personally, it's the battle within my mind. It was me, myself, and I that was so hard on myself, or
mm.
the stereotype of what I thought someone who works in tech should look like, one, should talk like, should, you know what I mean, their education should be like. It was me. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, get away from that.
How
And
did you
just,
overcome it?
I was tired of where I was.
Okay.
I was just tired. I was like, you know what? It's either now or never. If I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it.
It's
If I don't do
literally a
it
leap of
now,
faith.
yeah, yeah, you have nothing to lose. I
Yeah.
have nothing to lose. I gotta do it. I gotta try it. And you know what? I also did it for my children. I want my children to see. My children have always seen a hardworking mom. Like I've worked nights, I've worked days, I've worked, different shifts, and they know I'm a hard worker. But I also want to show them. Listen, first of all, if you want to do something that you are now raised to do, right? Because, hey, listen, as Portuguese women, we were raised to be home, cook, clean, take care of the husband and the children. And
Yeah.
the husband brings in the dough. I mean, in the perfect world, right? That's what we were raised as, right? And of course, that has evolved and that has changed. But I want my children to know, listen, you respect a woman, you encourage them. And I've had that support from my husband. I've had that support from my children. And it's important to be a role model for them. I care about everybody else. Don't get me wrong. I care about what other people think, but it starts at home. It starts with my children. I want them to see my mom is a hard worker, but she also jumped into something that she had no idea. She jumped into something that she was afraid of. And sometimes, hey, today I asked my middle child, come and help me for a second with my sound. He's like, sure, mom. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Because we're not know-it-alls. We're not that. And that's teaching them. There's going to be something you don't know what to do, ask for help. And
Yeah.
I think that's the great thing. So I think the tenacity in all of it is believe in yourself, right? Believe in yourself. Reach to your soul and say, yes, you can do it. It's so important. It's so important. Don't depend on anybody else to bring you out of your shell. It has to be you. It has to be you. Yes, we need support team. Yes, we need, my husband and my children. But at the end of the day, you need to stand up and be like, I'm doing this.
Mm,
And this is going to work. And if it doesn't, that's okay.
yeah.
Next page, next story, next chapter. Here we go. That's how you build a book. A book is not done with just one successful chapter, many chapters.
That's true. That's such a good point. Love it. I love all that. That's so inspiring. Thank you so much for coming on the Tenacity podcast. You are a perfect example of what this is all about. And thank you for being authentic and sharing your story. And again, thank you so much. I loved having you on.
Well, I'm going to have you on. Then I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure. Okay, Noelia, that was fantastic. So, if someone who's listening to this feels like they really relate to, your podcast, Power of Story, and they feel like they could be a guest, how can people reach out to you? Are you going to accept guests, or do you have your own list? Tell us about how people can find you, and if you're looking for guests.
Definitely want guests. I don't want this podcast just to be about myself. I do have a few of friends and some family that I do have on the list. However, I want to hear from you. I want to hear something new. So if you have a story and you want to share it, we're gonna have it so you can see it and click on it. But it's noeliaorantes0@gmail.com. And I'm hoping I can hear from you.
Awesome. So, anyone listening, if you want to tell your story, reach out to Noelia and be a guest on her podcast, Power of Story.
Yes.
And that's a wrap. I want to extend my gratitude to Noelia for sharing her incredible journey with us. Noelia's story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of embracing our authentic selves. Through her journey from a young immigrant to leading voice in the tech industry and a champion of storytelling, Noelia reminds us that it's not the challenges we face, but how we choose to overcome them that defines us. Her dedication to empowering others through technology and storytelling, coupled with her commitment to authenticity and vulnerability, offers a beacon of hope and inspiration to anyone facing their own set of challenges. Remember, it's our tenacity in the face of adversity that carves the path to our greatest achievements. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform and join our community on social media. I would love to hear from you. Leave a review and tell me what topics you'd like me to explore in future episodes. Remember, the future belongs to those who embrace change and innovation with tenacity. Keep striving, keep innovating, and most importantly, stay tenacious in your pursuits. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to bringing you more inspiring conversations in upcoming episodes. This is Sonia signing off, but as always, remember to chase your dreams with tenacity.